Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to a unboxing video for the Transformers deck building game. So this is a brand new game by Renegade Studios, and guys do like a lot of the nostalgic stuff like Power Rangers, miniatures card game, the deck building game, the G.I. Joe's deck building game coming out, a bunch of RPGs from all three, Transformers, Power Rangers, and G.I. Joe. So this is the deck building game, but it does not mix with the Power Rangers game. Just upfront that. So, just if you're thinking like, oh, they're the same company, that'd be awesome. They mix together. There you go. If you're not familiar with what a deck building game is, the base concept is players generally start with like the same type of basic hand, like generic cards, and then you purchase cards throughout the game to basically build a better deck. So as opposed to something like Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh, like a trading card game or a collectible card game where you purchase all your cards and you build a deck ahead of time, then you sit down and you play with what you have in your hand. These games you start off with like really generic cards, usually stuff like 1 buy power, 1 attack power, things like that. And you buy better cards that do more and more things. And then as you get through the game, and by the end of the game when you're still playing, each player has a very different type of deck. And it makes it unique because that way you can kind of adjust for the situation of depending on who you're playing against, or if you're playing against like an AI or a bad guy, what villain you're playing against, or another player. Or just your playstyle. Maybe you like to draw a lot of cards. Maybe you like to do damage. Maybe you like to be kind of like a healing type character. You get a little bit of idea of what you can do. But what also makes this unique, much like if you go watch the Power Ranger videos, it has a different setup and formation of how it's played than most typical deck builders. Most deck builders follow either... they sort of follow the core concept. Besides of having the thing is you have like a one roll of cards you can buy from, and then every player buys from that roll of cards, or they have a stack of decks. So you have like a row of cards like the Marvel Legendaries game. You have one row, or in that game you have 2 rows because you have one that you buy from, one that you fight. But games like Ascension have 1 row, or you have things more like the original Dominion. In some games like that, where you have stacks of decks, where every card in the deck's the same, but everyone's buying from like one pool of cards, and you can see what you're buying from. This game actually makes it into more of like a board game, which is kind of interesting. She also started big giant starter cards, character cards, which some deck builders do, some don't. Power Rangers does it, like some games like Naruto do it. Other games like the DC in the Cryptozoic Universe games have a character card, but it's more of just like an extra power more than anything. But in the Transformers game, since that's what we're talking about, is you build the Matrix, which is going to be a grid of cards depending on how many players you're playing. You have 2, 3, 4, or 5 players. You add more and more cards, but what you're doing is you're playing as the Autobots. At least in this campaign, you're playing as Autobots versus Decepticons. They're supposedly going to be adding more, like the next expansion should have you be able to play as Decepticons versus Autobots. And I'll see how those mix and match when that comes out. And then you make several different stacks of decks, and you add bosses to different level bosses to each stack. So stack 1, add a boss, 9 cards, add a boss, 9 more cards, add a boss, and they always have 5 cards at the end. So basically that you have at least 5 cards to get you through to the end of the game. And then the game kind of sets up. I'm not going to go through every single step of playing. The idea of what you're doing. So this is how the field ends up looking at the end. You have your starter deck, your character card, some of your tokens. You have your main deck that you've stacked over there, and then you have like your decks, everyone just your common draw decks. And then what your goal is to play through buying cards, revealing cards, just to try and get through the entire game. So there's a bunch of different types of cards in here. There's basic, there's cooperative schemes, there's Decepticon bosses, Decepticon schemes. So if you're playing a cooperative game, you play with one type of scheme. If you're just playing maybe like a race to see who can beat the boss first, you can play just a regular Decepticon scheme. So it's actually kind of neat there. And then there's like counter cards, maneuver cards, relic cards. My camera froze. There's different robots. There's Decepticons and Autobots. Site cards, starter cards, technology cards, and we'll kind of go through all them. And there's some basic cards. So basically, your turn sequence, we're just going to kind of run through this. I'll run through it on the back. But yeah, you have your different options you can do on your turn. Is you have various things you can do. You can use your basic actions. You can transform with one energon you have. Which lets you flip your character from your robot mode to your alt mode, or vice versa. And you can do that whenever. You can move, which lets you move orthogonally, up, down, left, right, not diagonally. To try and get through the big giant grid of cards, and then you can spend one to search. And you're flipping that card face up. So yeah, you get some different options. You spend move tokens. So you put your little you get these little extra tokens you put on your card that show that you're spending your move. So that way you can keep track of how many moves you have. You can just spend energon little cubes. Range cards, because as you flip stuff up, you have to attack them. So here it's showing like you get different cards. So as you reveal them, you're going to try and either gain the card, or you can fight it if it's a bad guy. Gives you some different options to do. The book is actually pretty good at word-wise describing. I wish the rulebook had more pictures of what to do. I really like books that do a better job at like showing like, oh, you're gonna do this, this is this turn, this is this. But you know, that's what it is. It's a deck build. If you play other deck building games, you'll get the gist of this very quick. So essentially on your turn, we're just gonna walk this, and then we got an idea of what we're doing. And then we'll jump through with the other cards. So you can play a card, move, search, buy or battle a card, activate energon abilities once per turn per ability, transform, or confront. And confront would be fighting like a boss. End of your turn, announce it's over, refill the matrix. Any empty spaces, add one card from there face down, so you don't know what they are. But if there are no empty spaces in the matrix to refill, you have to see page 7. We'll jump back and see what that is. I believe basically bad things happen. So essentially it's like every turn you need to be trying to empty out part of it. If you're familiar with Marvel Legendary and you watch my videos for that, it's the same thing with the city. Every turn you need to, there's a new card going to come into the city, and if something can't, it's going to push something out and it does bad things. It's basically just so you don't just sit there and wait for a perfect hand. You have to keep trying to do something every turn. But at the end of your turn, you discard all your hands. Anything you played, except for allies and ongoing cards, draw a new hand of 5. If you want to battle a card, you move into, or if you have a range card, you can attack from a distance. Resolve the ambush ability. If you control damage, your fellow players may each place one card face down to assist you. If no one assists you, you may decline to battle and spend your power elsewhere. If a player does assist you, you must continue the battle. Choose a round number of assets equal to the number of damage cards you control. Confrontation. If your power total is not enough to defeat the adversary, you must resolve assist cards placed by the other players one at a time. Stop resolving once it meets or exceeds the cost, unless you're forced to resolve more. After resolving available assists, if you still need additional power, you can activate other abilities. If you have successfully defeated the adversary, gain the reward listed at the bottom of the card. Place it into your vault face down. Each player who resolves a legal assist also gains the reward. So if players help you, and again with your co-op, they get bonuses. Conclude the battle, discard all cards you have played except for allies ongoing. All the power and move you have generated at that point is lost. All assist cards are discarded, whether resolved or not. If you have remaining cards in your hand, you may continue to play them as usual. So if you stop to fight someone, any card you get done go away. You lose any bonuses from that, and then you continue your turn. And at the end of the game, you score a pile of VP tokens at the cost of all robots and bosses in your vault. So you earn 1 VP for every multiple of 5, so you get various things there. Earn 1 for every 5 Energon you have. Add VP from your relics and schemes, and remove 1 for each 2 damage you have on you. And the player's the winner with the most VP. And that's because you're trying to basically, the normal game is to see like, oh, who can score the most points? Which Autobot can defeat the most Decepticons? If you're doing cooperative, then your goal is probably more, let's just see if we can survive. Or maybe our total is. I get that's not the best description of the rule book. I just kind of want to give a brief fling through. It's easier to kind of describe things as we go along. So we have a bunch of point cards here. So we have tokens for all our different Autobots you can play as. There's 6 different ones. You have your move tokens up here. You have some other various point counters for VP. 1s, 5s, 10s. If we flip over, we have some plus energy tokens on the back side of the minus speed. And then we have start of turn versus ongoing. And that's just things you can toss on cards. I think it's just a quick reminder of, hey, this is what we got. We get a badgie here of all our little purple Energon cubes. There's some big fat ones. There's some tiny ones just worth different amounts. We got some standees for our characters, of course. That's all the different tokens. If I can get... Alright, let's look at our actual Autobots then. Then once you start looking at it, we'll get the better idea of what some of these cards do, how things work. Just need a better light for you. Alright, so we're going to start off with the big one of them all, Optimus Prime. So he's got bot listed there, such as bot form. He's got Autobot listed on the top. He's got a special ability. It says each Autobot you play during your turn has +1 power. You can spend Energon to draw 1 card, or block with a range of 2, maybe used during any player's turn. So he can block attacks from a distance, which are kind of nice. Is that... Yep, that's just their cost there. So then what you can do is on your turn, you can spend stuff, you can flip them over, and you're going to get his alt mode. And now they call them alt modes and not vehicle modes. This has been, wow, a fairly standard thing for Transformers for quite a while now. Just because there are things that are not vehicles. You get the Dinobots, the Insecticons, the entirety of the Beast Wars. Plus you have stuff like odd things like Metroplex and stuff like that. So they just started calling them alt modes versus even like Megatron, for example. The old Megatron, the original one, turned into a gun instead of a tank, which is his current form. So it's an alt mode, not a vehicle mode. Just clarification, probably just my nerdiness. So here's going to show that Optimus has 2 moves, so he can move when he's in vehicle form. They don't really gain extra movement points when they're in bot form. So it's kind of thing that turn into their alt form, which lets them move a little bit, and then they can get. So it says when you flip an adversary in your space, +1 power, you may transform prior to ambush. When battling adversaries, -1 power. So you lose 1 power if you're battling an adversary. But when you flip them, you get, or I think they get -1 power. They get -1 power, but you get +1. You can transform, so if you want to flip over to the other side, you gain your bonuses. Alright, second up, we have good old Bumblebee. During each of your turns, +1 power for each ally you control. He can gain +1 power. Or each time you draw an encounter card this turn, draw 2 encounter cards instead and discard 1. So just a little bit of options on what he has to face. And if we flip into his alt mode, which is going to be his Camaro and not his VW Bug, the Beetle. When you transform, you may flip a card in adjacent space face up, so you just reveal. He's a scout, so you just to see what's coming up. When battling adversaries, -1 power. And that's because they're in vehicle form, so you gain less power when you're trying to attack in a vehicle form. They want you to move in vehicle form, or alt form, attack in bot form. Here we have Ironhide. When you block an attack, draw 1 card. Put 1 block from your discard pile on top of your deck. And then block, range 0, may be used during any player's turn. So he's basically your defense character, your tank, if you were. But he's a van. First time you transform this turn, +1 power. Battling adversaries, -1 power. So they basically all have that -1 power thing. It's, again, they just don't want you doing that. Here we have Wheeljack, our tech expert. So we have each technology you play has +1 power. Your technology cards have +2 range, or gain 1 technology card from the destroyed pile. We flip them over. We've got like the race car here. When you resolve an ambush, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a technology, draw it. Otherwise, leave it or discard it. So again, a little bit of options. You can try to find them. We're going to have Ratchet, who's our healer. Assists you have played have +1 range. Put unresolved assists you play back into your hand. So normally you have to, if you didn't use your assists, you just lose them. He lets you keep them. Kind of helpful. If you remove +1 damage from another player this turn, gain 1 VP or draw 2 cards. Or return up to 2 damage controlled by a player in your space on an adjacent space or adjacent space on the stack. And there's his ambulance form. Just as you may transform. It's a free transform. And then our last one is RC. First time you play a maneuver during each of your turns, draw 1 card, +1 power, or reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, draw 1 of them, and destroy the other. And then she turns into a Cybertronian car. Which is kind of odd, because usually I think she's usually, lots of times they portray her as a motorcycle. But I'd rather have her as a Cybertronian car than a motorcycle. It's just when battling, she doesn't gain any extra ability, but she has an extra move. She's the only character with 3 move. Otherwise they all have 2. So she gets to move a little bit faster because she's a little bit lighter, but she doesn't gain a special ability for it. Alright, so let's look at some of the rest of our cards here. Let's see if I can find our starting cards. Alright, so we're going to get some basic cards, which are the big giant stack of them. These are ones that are always sitting out that you can buy at any time. So if you're familiar with deck building, how that is. These are cards that everyone always has access to these, just in case there's nothing in the regular thing you want to buy. So we have Transform and Rollout. Cost 2 gives you 1 energy, 1 range, 1 movement. You may transform. If you're playing as an assist, you get 1 power. Fairly decent card. Basically just replaces your starters. Is what the goal of that is. So let's look at the starters quick. So we're going to get 5 copies, one for each player basically, of reserves. So these are one everyone gets to start in their deck with. Here we have 0 cost, because it's, they're all going to be zeros because they're starter cards. Gives you 1 move. If you control 3 or fewer Energon, gain 1 Energon. So let's just build that up. Got 5 copies of Fix. 1 move. You may return 1 damage controlled by any player to your space, in your space or adjacent space to the stack. Spend 1 Energon. Destroy 1 starter card you control. I talked about this in other deck building games, Power Rangers, and you've been mentioning it in Legendary. I love the ability of these games that are starting to add the ability to destroy starting cards. I like to, usually they say any cards, but it doesn't specify starting, but that's fine. But to destroy these basic cards that you start your game with. Because it's a fundamental way of playing these deck building games. You need to be able to get rid of your weaker starting cards so you draw the other ones more often. And games like Marvel Legendary don't have, or DC deck building don't have that built into your deck. You usually have to find other cards, other ways to do it, so maybe you have to forcefully include a certain type of card, or if you see one that does it, you're almost obligated to buy it because you need to get rid of them basic cards. Because if you can't start accessing the better ones more often, then you're just going to keep draw. You'll get like late in the game and you'll draw a hand of starting cards, which is kind of pointless. So I like the fact that this game and like the Power Ranger one actually include ways to do that. Here we have 5 copies of Patrol. 1 move, you may flip a card in an adjacent space face up. So these are different ways you can also move around without having to be in bot or alt mode. Here we have 5 copies of Firepower, which will get you 2 energy and 1 range. So it lets you do some damage there. And then we have all the rest of our cards here are Courage. So basically the rest of your deck is just going to be all these Courage cards, which are 1 energy, pay 1 to confront, play the top card of your deck. So they're the ones that allow you to do the other stuff. So you have 1 card that heals you, one that gets you some energy, 1 that lets you attack. And just to show off again, this is the other card you can buy, the basic. It costs 2, but it gives you 1 energy, 1 range, 1 move. So it can easily replace one of the movement cards. It can replace your range card. It gives you some of the energy that the other ones do. But you could buy this and essentially replace 2 other cards. Plus the ability you can transform with it for free without having to pay an extra cost. And you can also use an assist card. So it's usually worth probably buying like 1 or 2 of those earlier on in the game, and then getting rid of some of your other cards. But you don't want to get rid of your starter cards too early, because otherwise you're in trouble. And then we have a big giant pile here of damage. Much like Transform and Rollout, it just sits outside. You can't buy these, however, but what happens is various things will cause damage to your character. You put this by your character. This is ongoing. When battling an adversary, you must resolve 1 assist. At the end of the game, for every 2 damage you control, lose 1 VP. So, one game they're put into play. So they just sit out and they just sit there. And the more damage you take, the harder bad guys are going to be, your adversaries are going to become to fight. And I love that they use adversary and didn't say villains or anything like that, because that way if they flip this around on the next set and you can play Decepticons, all these cards essentially work the same way. But yeah, so you're gonna take damage, and rather than having like versus the Power Ranger deck building game by the same company where you actually have a health meter, this way just the damage sits out there, and you're just gonna keep taking damage and damage and damage. I think there might be a limit on how much damage you can take. I have to look that up quick. But every time you play it, you're just gonna you keep having to spend more and more cards, and it's gonna hurt you that much. So these pages are stuck together. Is there not just one thing here that just specifies the word damage? Alright, damage. You gain these cards from various... Let's put this up for you. damage cards force you to accept help from other players when in competitive mode, which allows you to profit from your battles. In co-op or solo mode, if you control 5 or more damage, your Transformer Spark is extinguished, your team loses. At the end of the competitive mode, you lose 1 for each VP. Co-op doesn't track VP, so you can ignore it. No matter which mode you're playing, you want to fix damage as soon as possible. You control damage cards if they're next to your character. If you play a card that allows you to destroy a card you control, you may destroy damage cards. Destroying a damage card does not return to the stack, goes to the pile. That's basically why damage is bad. So if you're playing competitive, all these other people have to help you win, because you're weak. They're like, oh, Optimus is down, I have to help him. But then they're also going to gain any bonuses you get from winning. And then, if you're playing co-op or solo mode, you can actually lose the game. So it's kind of neat there. Alright, let's jump into... We got the main deck, and then we got our bosses and our schemes. And we'll look at the main deck first and see what's all in there. So I think for the most part, there's 2 of each card. They like to do that. So we're going to look at maneuvers first. So there are 2 of these, and if there ends up being a different number than 2, I will specify. Otherwise, just assume that there's 2 of each one. So we have more than meets the eye. Maneuver. You may transform, gives you 3 energy. You can pay 1 to assist, plus 1 power, plus 1 range. We have dodge, 2 energy, 2 range, 1 movement. You can block to draw 2 cards. We have charge, it's 2 energy, 2 movement, and gain 1 energy. 2 power and 2 move. I guess I keep calling it energy. It's probably considered power. The little energy box. Yeah, it's power. I keep calling it energy. I should call it power. It's basically what damage you're going to do. And that's where the little tokens come in, so you can always throw some of them down. We have heroic effort. 2 power, 1 range. 1 power for each adversary boss in play. Confront. Plus 2 power for each adversary boss in play. We have helping hand. 2 power, 2 range. We have block. You may block it. If you block for another player, gain 1 VP. Assist, plus 2 power. Quick change. 1 power, 1 range. Maneuver. You may transform. If this is the first card you played during your turn, discard your hand and draw 3 cards. So basically, if you have a crappy hand, you can redraw it, which is nice. Recon. 2 power, 1 movement. You may flip a card in the adjacent space base up. Confront, play the top card of your deck. And our final maneuver card is Jump. You gain flight and block 1 energy. Energon. So that's the only time I've seen the word flight. So I'm guessing flight lets you... move in a different order. I'm just double checking the book because I guess I didn't realize that was a thing. Flight. A card with the flight keyword allows you to use that specific card's movement value to move diagonally and or orthogonally. Flight does not grant diagonal movement to other cards that can move you control or move from your alt mode. Okay, so it just lets you move 1 space diagonally instead. Makes sense. Alright, so those are all our maneuvers. So let's see what we have up next. We have some technologies. So we got the Force Dome. I'm going to stop reading the things on the side. You can clearly see them if you want to look. So we have block, draw 1 card. If you block for another player, gain 1 VP instead, or spend 3 to gain 1 VP. We have a drop ship. You may move target character up to 2 spaces. Energy Sword. Block. You may pay 2 Energon to keep this card in your hand after block. So up next we have Energon Drill. Gain 2 Energon if you're on a site, which is another card type we'll get to. Gain 3 Energon instead. Galactic Positioning System. Draw 1 card for each adversary boss in the Matrix. We have a Repair Bay. You may destroy 1 card you control, or you may return 1 damage controlled by any player in your space to the stack. So helpful if you're trying to for co-op. And we finally have Ground Bridge. Block. Gain 1 energy, Energon, and teleport to any space. Teleport's just a different movement. Teleport to any space. Other characters in your space may choose to teleport with you. So that's the end of our technology. So all the rest of our cards, we only have 1 of each. Because they're like more unique cards rather than like different things. But the other thing, if you didn't notice, is technology cards are gray. Maneuvers are blue. So it's a quick way to kind of just tell them apart. So our next cards are allies, which are, when bought or gained, they're put into play. So they stay into play to help you. We have Kyle Pennington. Once during each player's turn, if you're confronting or assisting target card you control has +1 power. Military Transport. Move 1 during your turn. Military Airstrike. Start of your turn. You may destroy 1 card in your hand. Sparkplug Witwicky. Start of your turn, put 1 starter card from your discard pile into your hand. Verity Carlos. Start of your turn, you may discard your hand and draw 4 cards. Spike Witwicky. The first card you play during your turn has +2 power. So these are our allies. Then we're going to have some relics here. Kind of like more powerful, ongoing type cards. Or more powerful cards, I shouldn't say ongoing. We have the Toxin, so these are orange or yellowish. It says when gained, destroy this card and gain 3 points. If this card is revealed in your space, you may move on to it. Or you move on to it, lose 3 Energon. So you don't want this one. But you can gain it and you can destroy it to gain 3 VP. We have the Resonan. Ugh. Why is my mouth not getting this word right? Resonance Blaster. So if it's in the vault, you gain 3 VP at the end of the game. So these are cards you kind of gain extra bonuses for having. So defeat all adjacent adversaries with a cost of 5 or less. If you would put this card into your discard pile, you may put it in your vault instead. Because you only gain points for stuff in your vault. So it's kind of like that. You can keep using, or you can throw it in your vault and gain extra points. It's kind of like, it's that, with these relics, it's like, do I keep using these awesome abilities, or do I sacrifice it to gain more points at the end of the game? And again, if you're playing co-op, you're probably going to keep it out and use it. But if you're playing co-op or versus, or competitive, you're probably going to want to try and put it in there sooner than later. You don't want to wait too long. You don't want the game to accidentally end before you get a chance to do it. Like draw it again. So Phase Shifter. You have like all ambushes. You draw this turn, block, draw 2 cards. Put it in your discard pile, you may put it in your vault instead. And they're all going to say that, I believe. So Polarity Gauntlet. You may flip a card in an adjacent space up, or gain 1 non-robot card with a cost of 5 or less in an adjacent space. The Matrix of Leadership. Gain 1 robot from the Matrix. If none, gain 2 Energon instead. And then, finally, the interesting one. We have Jetfire, who's a relic, but he's also a robot. So we have Flight. If you would put this card in your discard pile, so when you play him, you gain 4 power, 2 range, and 2 movement. Alright, then we have our brown cards, which are the sites. So these are interesting because they don't have a cost to buy them. So when these get flipped up, they stay in the Matrix. There are various like locations you might visit in the Matrix thing. So it says, City, pay 2 to move. Or pay 2 move. Gain 1 face-up ally from the matrix. If none, draw 1 card instead. Desert. Pay 3 power. Gain the top card of the main deck. If it's an adversary, destroy this site. Place the adversary in this space instead and resolve an ambush. The Arctic. Pay 2 move. Put 1 card from your discard pile on top of your deck. Military base. Cards you play during your turn while on this site have +1 range during another player's turns. Your cards have +2 range. The Autobot base. Pay 2 to move, return up to 2 damage you control to the stack. If you're in co-op, you can pay 4 move instead. You have to pay more to do it, basically. Energon Mine Small. Place 8 Energon from the general supply on this card. Pay X move, gain X Energon for this card. When empty, destroy this. And then Energon Mine Large, place 12. Pay X and then gain it. When it's empty, destroy it. Alright, and then we're going to have some robots to help us. So we have our Autobot Helpers, which are going to say, let's say Ironhide. So block 2, draw 2 cards. Play 1 power for each damage you control, gain 2 BP, and destroy 1 starter you control. So one way you could play this, if you're playing as a particular character, like you're playing as Ironhide or playing as Ratchet, you could pull them out of the deck, just to keep, for continuity's sake, but I don't think you really have to. It's not, the chances are, you're only going to draw, if you draw them once, whatever. So you have Ratchet, you may destroy 1 card you control, up to 2 damage controlled by an enemy player, by any player in your space on the stack. Gain 2 BP and 1 energon. So these are your rewards on the bottom, or for defeating them. Optimus Prime. When you put 1 Autobot from your discard pile on top of your deck, if you control another Autobot, gain 5 BP. Wheeljack. Gain for each 1 technology you have played this turn, gain +1 power for each technology you have gained this turn. Alright, sorry, a little pause. Just to also clarify, so the very bottom line, the gain 2 BP, that only if you're battling that card. And since in this game we're all playing Autobots, I can't battle Wheeljack. So I can pay 4 to buy him, gain him as an ally in my hand, but I can't fight him and defeat him. So my 2 VP won't do anything for me. But they made this game like that so that way when they do release the Decepticons as playable, all of these Autobots are usable as well, so they don't have to reprint new versions for each set. Just to clarify, so that's, they're only gonna matter when we start looking at the Decepticons. Their cards gonna look the exact same, just a different color. Just to say that. Alright, so then we have Jazz. Block, draw 1 card, gain 1 energy, +2 power if you're on a site. Prowl. If you thwart a steam this turn, gain 2 VP. Confront, power 1. And confronting is what you do to fight a boss. We have Hound. +1 power for each maneuver you play or have played this turn. Assist, +2 power. Cliff Jumper, peek at the top card of your deck, destroy it or leave it, or you can draw a card. We have Bumblebee, gain 1 ally in this space. You can block. Target player puts all allies from their discard pile into play. Mirage, block, you may teleport 1 space. You avoid 1 ambush drawn this turn. We have Brawn, +1 power for each other Autobot you have played this turn. Draw 1 card. And RC, so it's just the extra 3 movement. Block, gain 2 energon, pull 1 maneuver from your discard pile on top of your deck. So those are all our Autobot allies we can get. And then we have the Decepticons, which we can fight. So if you flip over one of the Decepticons while you're playing as an Autobot, they're your adversaries, you have to fight them. First thing you do is you'll draw one of the encounter cards to look like these. And encounter cards are going to have either an ambush side or a boss confrontation side. So when you first reveal them, if they're revealed and there's an Autobot or a player on them, you have to do the ambush. So either you flip over one that another player's on, or if you or that player move to one for the first time, then anyone that moves there or is on that space when it's first revealed has to do the ambush effect, and then you get try and dodge it or whatever, block it if you can, or do the effect. But if you're already on it, you don't, like, nothing else happens. You don't get ambushed every turn. And then while you're on these guys, you have to fight them. Alright, so then, now, if I want to beat Bombshell, so normally, if I was gonna get RC, I could spend 2 power up here to buy her. She goes in my discard pile, I get to use her max turn. To fight Bombshell here, so first thing, if I was in the spot where I had to ambush, I draw an ambush card, suffer whatever those effects are, or block it. And then I actually have to fight him, so I have to generate 5 power to defeat him. And then if I can't, other players can assist. If you have the damage cards, then somebody else has to help you. There's one of the damage cards. So if you have damage, ongoing when battling adversary, you must resolve 1 assist. So this means someone else can play card. Each other player in order has to drop a card to help you. And what that does, though, is that then if you beat them, you gain whatever's on the bottom. So basically, if I beat Bombshell, I ignore everything else in here except for that bomb, which is gain 2 VP and draw a card. But for every player that assists me, they get to do the same thing. Cooperative, definitely want to help each other out. Why not? You gain extra bonuses. Each player might spend a little less cards. Who knows? Why would you want to help someone in a competitive reason? Because you also gain them bonuses. So they have to do 5. So they could play, like, I'm fighting Bombshell. I could play 4 power, and a player to my left could play 1 power to help me out, or play a 2 power card. So they've played 1 card, and they're going to gain 2 VP and draw a card to replace that 1 card they spent, whereas I had to play 3 to do it. Whereas if they had to wait around until it was their turn, they'd have to play 3 or 4 to try and beat it. So it's the reason for assisting. You can get extra VP quick, and if it's damage, it's even better. So that's what those guys are. Alright, so we're going to just read off the rest of their abilities, because now if we get the other set and we get Decepticons to play as, it works the opposite direction. So, Bombshell says, you may move target character within 1 range up to 1 space. Players cannot assist this turn. Thundercracker, he has flight. If you have 6 or more VP, gain 1 VP. Oh, and once you beat a character, an adversary, they go right to your vault and you go towards your victory points. The only time this doesn't happen if it's the last boss of the game, then the game just ends. So the last turn of the game, you may as well just spend whatever you want, because once you beat them, right? Bone Crusher. So, like, all ambushes are on this turn. Confront, 2 power. He also has this cool Constructicon symbol, which plays into an effect later on. We have Brawl. If you are on the site, draw 2 cards. Draw 1 Energon, resolve the ambush against each other character in your space. We have Shrapnel. The first time you defeat an adversary this turn, gain 1 VP. Confront, plus 2 power. Scrapper, another Constructicon. Block, if you block for another player, gain 1 VP, or draw 2 cards. Skywarp, Flight, teleport to any space, gain 1 face-up, non-adversary card with a cost of 3 or less. in an adjacent space. Scavenger. You may draw one card, then you may destroy one card in your hand. Draw one card, then you may destroy one card in your hand. Say for another Constructicon. We have Kickback. These are the Insecticons. I kind of wish they all had their little keywords. Flake and Block. Gain one ally from the Matrix. Then we have Ravage, which is a mini cassette. Little keyword there. Block, draw one card. Then you may put one card from your hand into another player's hand. Confront, play the top card of your deck. Laserbeak, which is also a mini cassette. Flight and Block. Assist, +1 power. And Rumble, another mini cassette, has no special abilities. Destroy any non-boss card in your space. So those are all the different main deck cards. So again, when you're playing though, is you're gonna like set these out, you know, like so, like just the top of the matrix, and then you're gonna move your little character around. And if you land on a spot, you can spend one spot to search it, flip it over. Oh, it's a maneuver. So now you have the option of trying to buy this, or you could be like, I don't have 5 energy right now, and you can move to a different spot. And then if you reveal, you know, allies or sites or whatever, and that's basically how you're playing. And then that's why there's cards that are gonna let you reveal stuff from other spots and things like that. So that way you can try and you don't always have to constantly just move to one spot. And that's what's also neat though, is this is up to a 5-player game. So if you have 5 players out, you can have one person being like Ratchet, or not Ratchet, yeah, one person Ratchet doing technology stuff. You can have Ironhide blocking, Bumblebee searching, you know, yeah, all these different things. You can. It's just actually kind of cool. So now we're gonna have Steam cards, which we're gonna look at. So these can also be in there. Now there's 2 different types. There is Cooperative and Decepticons. So if you're playing versus or competitive, you're gonna play the Decepticon Steam. If you're playing cooperative, you're gonna use Cooperative Steam. And they just get mixed in with everything else, and they're just things to make the game harder. They're all unique, so there's only one of each. So you have divided loyalties. Ongoing robots in the Matrix are treated as adversaries, so therefore now all the Autobots are adversaries too. To thwart this, while in the space, pay 4 Energon. So you have to move to that spot and you have to pay 4 Energon. The All-Out Assault. Ongoing, you must treat all battles against adversaries as confrontations. So this actually makes it harder, because then instead of ambush, you have to draw a confrontation card, which are harder to defeat. To thwart, block an attack against another player during any player's turn. Magnetized Core. Ongoing. Each player's alt mode has 0 move. To thwart, buy, gain, or defeat 2 cards in the Matrix in a single turn. Space Bridge to Cybertron. Ongoing. You pay 2 or more power to defeat adversaries. 2 more power. To thwart, while in the space, resolve the assist you placed. And then finally we have Hostage Crisis. Place every ally in the Matrix and in play underneath this card as hostages. If none, discard this card face up. And it just only treats cards that you can actually see. Ongoing. Pay 4 power. Gain 1 random ally under this card while in the space. When there are no allies remaining, destroy this card. So those are our single ones we have to beat. Now if you're playing co-op, they're going to be a little bit harder possibly, but that's because you have players helping you. So you have Rising Darkness. Ongoing. Range. The value of all cards is reduced to 0. To thwart, contribute 4 cards of different costs. So contributing is getting rid of cards, but because you're cooperative, everyone can join in on this. But it's basically limiting what you have in your hands or your hand or your deck anymore. You have to actually get rid of different cards. Stolen Power. Pay 1 additional energon to transform. Always cost a minimum of 1. To thwart, defeat an adversary and adjacent to the space. Orbital Laser. Start of turn, attack, gain 1 damage. If you have none, gain 2 instead. So yeah, that could suck because it can build up very fast. To thwart, contribute 2 cards, each with +2 move. Because remember, in cooperative, if you have 5 damage, you lose. So if you have 1, if you have none, you're going to have 2. So then you can only survive this 3 more turns. So at most, this is 4 turns, and this card will beat you on its own. You have to contribute 2 cards, each with 2 plus move. And I don't believe you have to contribute everything on 1 turn. So you could, okay, I have 2 cards, and the next player could draw 2 cards and do it. So Energon Embargo. Ongoing players cannot activate Confront or Assist Energon abilities. To thwart, contribute 8 Energon. And then the final one is Mass Extermination. End of turn, discard 1 card with +1 power. To thwart, contribute 2 cards each with +2 power. So each player has to contribute 2 cards. So one person can't sacrifice everything. Alright, then the very final thing we're going to have is our bosses. And these same backs, and I haven't shown off the backs, I guess. But they're going to get mixed in when you build your deck. They're going to be like in your couple of different piles. So you're going to come across them. So there are two for each level. So there's level 1, level 2, and level 3. So you're always going to be playing against 3 bosses. But you won't end up accidentally drawing, like level 3 Megatron on your like opening deck. So you're going to have 9 cards after you've built your deck. I think after the field's out, so I think then you have 9 more cards after that. So it's going to take a couple of cards to do. I mean, it could be the first of those 9 cards, possibly, unless you stack the deck differently. But I like this because it is more like Marvel Legendary Encounters, where you kind of stack the deck so it gets harder as you go along. Versus like Marvel Legendary, just regular Legendary, where you can end up drawing super powerful cards right off the bat that there's nothing you can do about. Because on turn 1 and 2, you don't have enough damage to defeat a guy with like 10 health. So it's kind of nice that they did this. But here we got Soundwave. And when you fight these guys, you have to confront them to defeat them. So then you draw the encounter cards and you do the confront boss ability, which is worse than the ambush. At first, you'll do the reveal attack, though. So when Soundwave flips over, he's going to discard 1 ally you control, then you resolve the ambush. So then you do that. You have to block each of those attacks separately. Start of your turn, gain 1 damage. This boss cannot be defeated if any mini Decepticons are in the Matrix. So you have to defeat those little mini Decepticons first. Next, you have Astro Train. Reveal attack. Draw and resolve 2 ambushes. And then you have to do a 3rd ambush for the regular one. Ongoing, when you are ambushed by a non-boss adversary, gain 1 damage before drawing the encounter. Our level 2 is we're going to have Blitzwing, and you can see their costs are increasing. So now we have some 6s, now we have some 8s. So Blitzwing is going to say reveal attack. Discard and okay, so you only do that. Astro Train only does 2 ambushes. I thought he did an additional one. So reveal attack. Discard an ally you control, then resolve an ambush. Ongoing, you pay 2 more power to defeat other Decepticons. Then we get Star Scream. Discard an ally you control, then resolve an ambush. Start a turn. Discard 1 non-basic card. So they're just going to keep getting rid of your allies, which sucks. There's level 3 boss. Is we're going to have Devastator. Reveal and start of turn. Place all Constructicons in the Matrix and destroyed pile under this card. This boss has +1 cost for each card under it. So basically he absorbs the Constructicons and becomes more powerful. At the start of your turn, gain 1 damage. If you are on adjacent space, gain 2 damage. If you are on or in adjacent space to this card, gain 2 damage instead. So it sucks about those is you need to take these guys out or you're going to keep gaining damage every turn. And then our final boss is, of course, Megatron. Reveal attack. Discard each ally you control, then resolve an ambush. Start a turn, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's cost 3 or plus, destroy it. So once the bosses get revealed, you basically gotta drop everything and try and take them out, or you're just gonna keep suffering too much damage and you're going to lose the game. Alright, then the final thing we have, which aren't necessarily as exciting, is we're gonna have the encounter cards. So we have Ambush on the top. It says attack, lose 2 energies, or boss reveal. Ambush hits all adversaries. If you're confronting him, though, reveal the top card of your deck, lose power equal to that card's cost. Underestimated. Discard 1 relic in your hand, or 1 you control. If you control none, gain 1 damage instead. Boss reveal, ambushes hit all adversaries. Ooh, that could suck. Add +3 to this card's cost, and each of the players draws 1 card from their deck. Power fluctuation. Destroy a random card in your discard pile. Boss. Ambush hits all adversaries, so it hits everybody instead of just whoever was on that card. Confrontation. Add +1 to the adversary's cost for each energon you control. If you have none, gain 2 damage instead. Undermined. Adversary cannot be battled this turn. Hits all adversaries. Confrontation. Add 3 to the adversary's cost, plus an additional 1 for each card with 4+ you control. We have Crushing Blow. Gain 1 damage. Attack. Destroy 1 card with a cost of +3 you control. If you control none, gain 2 damage instead. EMP. Destroy the top card of your deck. Confrontation. Destroy 1 technology if you control. If you control none, gain 2 damage instead. Outmaneuvered. Lose 1 VP. Attack. Destroy 1 maneuver you control. If you control none, gain 2 damage instead. Lots of the same thing, just with different cards, just fine. Casualty of War, lose 2 energon. Destroy 1 robot you control. If you control none, gain 2 damage. And Dominance, gain 1 damage, or add 5 to the adversary's cost. I kind of don't like the fact that all the ambushes just say they hit all adversaries. It's fine that that it says that, but I don't know, I feel like if that was the case, you could have just had that been like a rule or something. I mean, it's nice it's printed on there as a good reminder, but if the boss reveal is always gonna do the same thing, it just seems kind of like lazy to put it on there. Just like, oh, if it's a boss reveal for a boss, it just applies to everybody, to all players, instead of just the one that drew the card, I guess. And then we're going to get, we have one more we missed. Uphill Battle. Lose 1 VP, or add +1 to the adversary's cost for each VP you have. If you have none, gain 2 damage. Alright, then we have our 5 turn sequence cards. On the back, it's just reminders of the battle. Move into range, an ounce of power, activate non-confront abilities, +1. A +1 damage assist may be placed. If no damage, assists may still be placed. That's if it's confrontation. Otherwise, shuffle and resolve confrontation counters. If not enough power to defeat, choose assists 1 at a time and get enough power. However, if you have X damage, regardless of the power, you must resolve at least X assets. You may activate any unused energon abilities. If the adversary is defeated, you and the player's result with the assists gain the VP, put adversary in revolt. All power move is lost, player cards and all assists are discarded. Then your turn continues. So if you fight someone during the middle of your turn, and you still end up with a couple of cards left, you can go ahead and keep trying to fight them. Or you can just end the battle. Alright, so that's all I have for now on this. There is a... If you watch my Power Ranger videos, there are usually a pre-order pack with this. So there's supposed to be a pre-order pack with Jazz. It just hasn't shown up yet. There's some issues, whatever happens. So when that shows up, I'll do a quick little video just updating on that. Maybe by then I'll have some more information on the game. Or I'll do something else a little bit with that, so it's not a 2-minute long video because it's only like 5 cards. But that's the Transformers deck building game. See you guys later. Bye.